People usually assume hybrids are bad on the freeway, mountainous terrains, especially because of their heavy weight. But in this video, I'm going to talk about are they actually bad, because I'm going to take this car for 1,500-mile road trip across mountains, freeways, high winds, and lastly to Las Vegas. Before I get started, I need to tell you the basic information about this car. It's supposed to get 36 miles per gallon on the freeway if EPA is correct. But I'm very doubtful about this, and we'll find out. Well, the answer is no. Unfortunately, it was not even close to 36. In fact, it only got 30.23 miles per gallon. I have to talk about the logistics, or the plan of the route. So here's how it's gonna work. Let me talk about this. First day, we're gonna drive from Livermore to Vegas, but we're gonna fuel up in Bakersfield, and once we hit Bakersfield, there will be a mountainous terrain leaving California. There will be the desert. Do you know what comes with deserts? The high winds. And on the second day, we plan to go from Vegas to Zion National Park, which crosses state lines such as Arizona, Utah, and Nevada. And on the third day, we plan to either stay in Vegas or go somewhere really close to Vegas and just do minimum driving and then just explore. Or maybe not even drive it at all. We don't know yet. And on the fourth day, we're gonna come back and do the same thing as the first day. So that's the plan. And in that plan, the Zion will be hilly. The desert will have tons of winds. Right, let's start it. People.
It was 223 miles to split and the car took 7.7 gallons. That's 29 miles per gallon if we divided the distance by the fuel consumed. Alright, so it's 100 miles and the first era is radar not available due to the dust on the radar. This is what the radar looks like when you step out, and it was dirty, but there's not like tons of thing in there. So as you can see, once we hit Vegas, the gas price dropped significantly, primarily because the gas station choice. That was 295 miles and the fuel use was 9.992 gallons, so it's averaged around 29 miles per gallon. Finally, it's the end of day 1 and let's recap, shall we? Today, we drive 519.6 miles and our average fuel economy is 29.3 miles per gallon. As I expected, I know it's not gonna exceed or even touch the EPA speed limit, primarily due to EPA's economy is based on average speed of 46 miles per hour. I know for a fact that I drove faster than that and I drove more distance than that. So there's no doubt that we're not gonna hit that. Today, I learned that never fill up at the first gas station off highway, especially those that are far from the town. Number 1, they're really expensive, and number 2, you don't know how good the fuel are. And another thing I learned is, oh my god, California is really big. I drove over 8 hours just to get out of California, which is really crazy and it's just insane. So that's it for today, and tomorrow we'll have a good adventures and I'll see you. Day 2. We originally planned the day 2 to go to Zion National Park, but as you know, if you've drove 8 hours the day before, you don't want to drive another 5 or 6 hours to a park. So instead, we ended up going to the Valley of Fire State Park. That place is very underrated, and the drive there is pretty good because there's tons of city driving where we'll recover. Right as we entered the park, we saw many goats. And look at the view around it. It was like the whole drive, and I also saw the most different license
Arizona
plate ever.
plate, Nevada plate, Washington plate.
Just look at this. It have 3 colors of sand, and people hike down there with their hiking boots, and we're doing it with slippers. So I felt that.
Okay, good.
Alright. And then there's these tunnels that I think it's naturally made, but I'm not sure. After that, we headed back, and then I'm tired. I had a coffee at Cupper Joe. It was the best coffee in my life. And we fill up the car. Total distance travel was 185.6 miles. That combined with 5.11 gallons, it comes out to 36.2 miles per gallon, which is a difference from the 38.8 miles per gallon the car is predicting.
Okay, this is my day 2 recap. For day 2, I learned 2 things. The first thing is that local restaurants and local coffee shops are way superior over the big chains. Allow me to explain. In Overton, I was very drowsy and I needed coffee, so I tried to find a coffee. There was only one shop that's called Cuppa Joe's, and it was the best coffee I've ever had. As someone who doesn't rely on coffee for my being awake, this coffee makes me need coffee more in the entire trip because it was that good and it was the best coffee I've ever had. It was even better than my grandma's coffee that she made for me when I was young. I'm sorry, Grandma. And then the second part is that today we finally hit 36.5 miles per gallon. Can we get a cup? Over the span of the whole trip, we're trying to hit this number, but we never hit this. Primarily because we're driving at the higher speeds, or let's say at 65 miles per hour average. But today we hit it because we're driving slower. Some part of today's trips are not on highway, and we spent around like an hour following a Toyota RAV4 in the park with 15 to 20 miles per hour. So what I could conclude from this is that EPA driving highway is not actually 65 miles per hour average, but it's more like 45 miles per hour average. So I think the numbers are kind of deceiving. Anyways, today, guess how much we spent in total? $17. That's for 185 miles. That's super efficient. As a Californian, $17 to drive around 200 miles, crazy. Because we have Californian tax, and then that is it for today. Tomorrow we're for sure gonna go to Zion National Park because this was part of the trip, and if we didn't do it tomorrow, there's no chance.
Okay, it's day 3 of the trip, and today we're starting with 6 miles on the gauge, and it says 443 miles, and we're going to Zion today.
First, I want to say sorry for the shaky footage, but the views here, it's amazing. And also what I want to talk about is I almost died today on that day if the local didn't save me. I'll talk about it in the recap, but essentially what happened is it was raining, okay? And the second part is it was a long drive. I think it's totally worth it, but what I would have done differently is I would stay in Zion for at least a day or 2 instead of just driving back and forth from Vegas. Alright, let's go to the fuel up and the recap.
Miles. It's been 350 miles back from Zion, and we're averaging 52 miles per hour, and the car thinks it's averaging 34 miles per gallon. We'll see how much it actually takes to drive 350 miles. That was, it says 446 miles till empty, and that was, oh my god, I lost for how much did I put. Anyways, it was $3.3 per gallon. So today's 7th. Okay, that was 10.592 gallons for 300 miles.
So we averaged 33 miles per gallon, but the reason I was shouting out that restaurant is because potentially the restaurant owner might have saved my life. Allow me to explain. So when we walk into that restaurant in Springdale, it was sort of start to rain, and then I was kind of bummed because it's raining and we already drove 3 hours to Zion. It's at the situation where we should turn back or we shouldn't, or like what we should do. We don't know. And then we also don't know which trail to go because I'm very bad at doing research before going anywhere. And then I just talked to that restaurant owner. So I was like, hey, which trails do I have to go, and what are the tips and tricks, and which one's easy because my parents are kind of tired. And then she was like, guys, I don't recommend you going if it's raining out there, because I legitimately see people die over there and got stuck because the water came up and then they got stuck there for days and days. And as like that, I got really scared, and then I was like, anyways, we already got here, so we're just gonna drive around. And she was like, driving around is okay, just don't hike. And then as we was driving around, the rain stopped, luckily. Hooray. And then we went to the canyon overlook trail and we hiked, and we were okay, but I can see like how bad the water is on the bottom, because the water was coming down at like really high tide. Is it high tide? Really high flow, that it could actually move a person and then like pull him down. So thanks to her. And then tomorrow, what we're gonna do is drive back to Livermore, and then tomorrow's analysis will be interesting because I'm gonna tell you the cost to drive the whole trip. I'm gonna tell you about why hybrids are less efficient. I'm gonna talk about what's my experience and what's my takeaways overall. And then tomorrow will be a wrap.
Today we're gonna go from Vegas to Livermore back and stop at Bakersfield Costco for gas and Mojave for the lunch. It's total around 530 miles. So it was over 10.5 gallons for 286 miles, which is really bad. But there's a reason behind it, because it was really windy and we're driving really fast at the same time. This was the last fuel up, and the car thought it got 31 miles per gallon throughout the whole trip and 30.1 miles per gallon throughout this interval. And also, we averaged around 57 miles per hour throughout the whole trip, and then this interval we got 67 miles per hour average. We're gonna see if it's true or not in the analysis. Okay, on day 1 we drove 519 miles and we took 17.73 for a gallon. In total, we drove 1580.7 miles and it took 52.198 gallons. If we divide 1580 by 52.198, we got 30.28 gallons. That divided by the EPA number, which is 36 miles per gallon. The actual efficiency that we got throughout this trip is 84% of what EPA claims. So is EPA lying? Let me explain the EPA highway test. In their test, they drive for 10.26 miles at the average speed of 48.3 miles per hour. And then their top speed allowed to hit, guess what? It's only 60 miles per hour. And my average speed is 18% faster than what EPA typically do. So that's why. And another question rises, would I be more efficient with the gasoline counterpart because it's around $1,000 to $2,000 cheaper? Well, the answer is yes, but the gasoline counterpart only get 2 miles per gallon less than my current car. Goal is to get the best bang for your buck, and you only drive highway, get the gasoline counterpart over. Science matters, trip matters, the mountains matter. What matters the most for the efficiency at the end of the day is the way you drive. To make the car the most efficient, what you have to do is you have to accelerate hard and then coast, and then accelerate hard and coast instead of just maintaining one speed. Between why? When you're accelerating, you're using that engine, and then once you let off the gas, the car's starting to recharge and turns off the engine, which runs in EV. But if you maintain the speed the whole way, the engine's running constantly, it will burn more fuel. That's it for the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.